fiery horse with the speed of light, a cloud of dust, and a hearty hi-yo silver, the Lone Ranger. With his faithful Indian companion Tonto, the daring and resourceful masked rider of the plains led the fight for law and order in the early western United States. Nowhere in the pages of history can one find a greater champion of justice. Return with us now to those thrilling days of yesteryear. From out of the past come the thundering hoofbeats of the great horse Silver. The Lone Ranger rides again.
Come on, Silver. Let's go, big fellow. I'll Silver. Hi!
Early in the 19th century, a meteor hurtling through space plunged into the atmosphere surrounding the planet Earth. Heated to incandescence, it streaked as a ball of fire through the night skies over California, approaching at incredible speed to smash into the ground. The meteor made its own pit where it rested and grew cold. At first, the place was frequented by sightseers and geologists, but interest waned through the years, and the mass of rock and minerals from outer space was all but forgotten save by a few scientists. The place became part of a national park under the protection of the federal government. It was 60 years after the meteor's arrival when a group of scientists and high government officials held a meeting behind locked doors in Washington, D.C.
Tell me, Dr. Madison, is it extremely important that you and your colleagues have samples of this meteor?
It is, sir.
This new chemical element you're looking for, just what is it?
Well, as yet, it's unnamed. We do, however, know that the element, if it can be found and isolated, will have remarkable properties. It may have the elemental force of the sun itself.
And you think you'll find this element in the meteor?
We don't know. European scientists have made great strides in their research with meteorites. We cannot let them get too far ahead of us.
You know, Mr. Calvert, it's been 3 months since you promised to secure pieces of that California meteor.
Well, in those 3 months, Professor Lockley, we haven't been idle. How about it, General Fairbanks?
That's right. Immediately after the first request, we filled a chest with pieces chipped from meteor. The chest was stolen between California and St. Louis.
And there was another attempt.
Yes. A second chest was filled with this mineral.
What happened to that one, General Fairbanks?
We don't know. Wells Fargo sent it from California on a special stage, which apparently disappeared into thin air.
There, you see? That should prove something. Someone, probably an agent from a foreign government, is trying to block our research.
We must take unusual precautions to get this chest through as far as St. Louis.
Agreed.
The meteorite is limited in size. If shipments continue to disappear, it'll be all gone.
Have you any suggestions, General?
Gentlemen, let me show you something that I've carried in my pocket for a number of years. Here.
Why, a bullet.
Yes,
This looks like silver.
it is.
A silver bullet. Does it have a special significance?
Very special. It was given to me by one of the most loyal sons this country ever had. You gentlemen may not have heard of him, but he's become almost legendary west of the Mississippi. I propose to find this man and ask him to help us get the chest of ore to St. Louis.
Well, where can you find him?
I know of only one way to locate him. I'll send word to a certain padre in a little mission in the west.
What's this man's name?
Well, as for his name, I don't know it. But he's called the Lone Ranger.
Word flashed to the country's outposts by the new electric telegraph, and the message was relayed by horsemen until it reached the padre in his little mission. People from all sides came to the padre. When they left, they carried a message with them.
The Padre's looking for the Lone Ranger.
And if you see this Lone Ranger, amigo, you'll tell him he's wanted by the padre.
Stage is all loaded, just set to go. And don't forget to spread the word. The Padre wants to see the Lone Ranger.
I won't forget. Get her! Get her!
Meta Kuse, Deshaung Ma Baker, Lone Ranger.
Mexicans, half-breeds, Indians, pioneers, everyone spread the word in an ever-expanding circle until it reached an Indian named Tonto, who hurried to the top of Thunder Mountain, where he built 3 fires and sent 3 towering columns of smoke into the sky, a signal that was seen on a distant hill, seen and understood by a masked man who leaped to the back of a snow-white stallion and shouted, "Bon Silver!" In the meantime, the fastest of the trains westbound from Washington carried a special car with one of the highest of the government officials. The car was taken as far west as possible, then shunted to a siding where the man from Washington and his aides waited and hoped. Each day, the man from Washington became more anxious, and each night found him pacing the floor of the small room that served as an office at one end of the car. It was nearly midnight when he was startled by a soft rap on the door.
What's that? I wonder. You.
General, the Padre sent me.
Ah, thank goodness. I'd almost given up hope. Come in. Come in at once.
Thank you.
Will you sit down?
Thank you.
I have a lot to tell you.
Very well.
Some time ago, you gave me a silver bullet. Do you remember?
When I gave it to you, I told you that it represented an obligation I could never wholly repay.
The government needs you. We need you more than ever before.
What can I do?
Let me tell you about a meteor that fell in California, and about 2 futile efforts to move portions of that meteor to Washington, and why some men of science want to investigate those minerals from space. And a 3rd chest is being filled with pieces of the meteor. And I'm convinced that enemies will try to intercept this chest as they have the previous ones.
See.
The hazardous part of the journey is between California and St. Louis, while the chest is being carried on the stagecoach.
Have you tried to maintain secrecy?
Yes, but we tried on previous occasions. Enemy agents have sources of information.
Yes, I know.
We plan to move the chest over the Butterfield Stage line, over the usual route through Yuma, El Paso, Fort Chadbourne, Fort Smith.
I know the route.
We considered making special arrangements for the stage, but decided against it because a special stage would attract attention and arouse suspicion.
This ore, then, is to be carried on one of the scheduled runs?
Yes. And we want you to see that the stage goes through.
Have you any further orders, General?
You may work in any way you consider best. It's up to you. You might remove the mask and disguise yourself to travel as a passenger in that stage.
Well,
That's merely a suggestion. You do what you think best. But see that the chest reaches St. Louis.
I'll do my best, sir.
I might explain that you will not be the only one who is watching this stage. A government agent will at all times be somewhere near the stagecoach.
Will I know him?
There's a way by which you can identify him. Now, I'll tell you what is to be done with the chest when it reaches St. Louis.
I see. How can I identify this federal agent?
I don't know.
What?
He alone knows how he is to be known. He's put the information in a letter. Here it is.
Yes?
The envelope was sealed by the agent himself. Open this letter when you're alone, away from here. Read and memorize the contents, and then destroy it.
This agent must have been told that I would help.
He was.
Will he know me?
No.
Very well, General. Is there anything else, sir?
Nope. From now on, it's up to you.
Right. Steady there, Silver. Steady, boy.
Silver. So that's the horse I've heard so much about.
He's not often impatient.
Where are you going from here?
Well, Tonto's waiting in a camp about a half a mile away. I'll join him there, and at daybreak we'll start west.
Good. Silver is impatient.
Good night, General.
Good night. And good luck.
Silver seemed to know by some rare instinct when trouble was impending. Two men waiting in a clump of cottonwoods watched the railroad car on the siding and the masked man who stood at the open door shaking hands with the general. They had drawn a rope tightly across the trail, just high enough to strike a man on horseback.
He's holding an envelope of some sort. You see it, Vince?
Yeah.
That's what we want.
How did the boss know that masked man was going to get an envelope of instructions?
Don't ask me how the boss knows things. The point is he knows, and he's generally right.
I don't know about that, Rankin.
What do you mean you don't know?
Well, the last time
he told us it'd be a chest of ore on a special stage. He was right about that, wasn't he, Vince?
Yeah, only...
Only what?
Yeah, maybe it was ore of some sort. But as far as I could see, there was nothing special about it. I know gold ore and silver ore. And that stuff we got wasn't neither one.
What are you squawking about? The boss paid us off, didn't he?
Well, I've got no squawk about
He'll
that.
pay us off again when we take him the envelope in that masked man's hand.
Look, Rankin, tell me something.
Yeah?
What's the boss after? I mean, in the long run. What kind of a game is he playing?
All I know is he hired us to do certain things, and he pays us when they're done. He won't answer no questions, and he don't like to deal with men who ask him.
Hey, the masked man's mounting up?
Yeah, get ready.
I'm all set. He's coming this way.
Yeah. Get back a little bit so as he won't see us.
He can't see us in here. It's too dark.
Get back anyway.
I wish he'd come faster so as he'd hit that rope hard enough to take him clean out of the saddle.
It don't matter. The rope will stop him anyhow.
If it don't, my 6-gun will.
Leave your gun and leather. If there's any shooting to be done, I'll do it. The boss don't want murder if it can be avoided.
No, I don't...
You get a noose ready to drop over his head. Now get ready. Here he comes.
The Lone Ranger felt a peculiar tension as the trail entered the cottonwoods. His senses were tuned to a high pitch, but even so, he didn't see the rope that was stretched across the trail until he was almost upon it. And he swung quickly, pulling Silver to the side.
Over, Silver. Come on, boy.
He's seen us. Straight up for Silver, we want you.
Steady, boy.
Here's a rope you didn't see. That's it, Vince. I got him. Hold her tight, Vince.
I'll remember that name.
Grab onto him. Come on, you. Get off that saddle. Hold that rope tight so he can't raise his arm with guns.
You better take your hands away.
I'll hold him. Come on, you. Swing out of that saddle or I'll shoot. And I'll shoot to kill.
The curtain falls on the first act of our Lone Ranger story. Before the next exciting scenes, please permit us to pause for just a few moments. Now to continue our story. When the Lone Ranger left his secret meeting at midnight, two men acting on orders of one they called Boss waited where the trail led through a clump of cottonwoods. The masked man reined up in order to avoid being swept from the saddle by a rope that had been stretched in his path. But a noose dropped over his head, and a sudden pull tightened that noose, pinioning his arms so they could barely move. Vince held the rope taut while Rankin clutched at the Lone Ranger's belt.
Come on, you. Swing out of that saddle or I'll shoot. And I'll shoot to kill.
At him, Silver.
At him. Look out, Rankin. Look out, that horse.
Come on, boy, at him.
Silver became a fighting demon, rearing high and lashing at the would-be captors with his hoofs. The men gave ground, and the noose grew slack around the masked man's waist.
Get rid of that.
Come on, Vince. This way. Get cover and open fire.
Come on, Silver.
Soon after leaving Vince and Rankin somewhere in the woods, the Lone Ranger reached a small camp where Tonto was waiting. It took but a few moments to tell about his meeting in the railroad car and the subsequent encounter in the woods.
You not go after fellers?
No, I didn't, Tonto.
Maybe them get you from ambush, huh?
It wasn't that. I didn't want to risk losing the letter the general gave me.
Oh, that's right.
The letter tells how a government secret agent can be identified.
You think fellers follow you here?
They do. Silver will give the alarm. He warned me when I was saying goodnight to the general. I didn't realize it. I thought he was just restless.
When you read letter?
You can build up that fire a little bit. I'll read it now, and then we'll burn it.
Tonto, fix fire.
We want to leave the... Tonto.
What matter?
The letter. Tonto, it's gone.
Gone? You sure?
Yes, I had it in this pocket. One of those men was tugging on my belt. That must have been when he took the letter.
Maybe let her fall from pocket.
It couldn't have. It was taken from that pocket, and we've got to get it back before it's read. Throw that water on the fire and grab your horse.
We leave blankets and other things here.
Yes, steady there, Silver. Easy. Steady, boy.
Be ready.
Come on, then, Tonto. Come on, Silver.
Come on, Scout.
Oh, Silver, hold on. Easy,
fella. Oh, fella.
This is where it happened, Tonto. There's the rope that was supposed to take me out of the saddle.
It's plenty dark here.
Yes, give me your knife. I'll cut this rope down so it won't break someone's neck.
Here, your knife.
Thanks, Misabi. There.
Which way them fellers go?
They went over that way. I don't know whether they had horses waiting nearby or not.
Tracks plenty hard to follow.
Nevertheless, we've got to follow them. We've got to overtake those men and get the letter back. If they've read that letter,
Then what we do?
I don't know, Tonto. We've got to be sure of one thing. We've got to be sure that the identity of the federal man does not become known. We'll leave the horses here and see what we can do about the trail. Come on.
It took all of the combined skill of the Lone Ranger and Tonto to follow the trail in the dim starlight that filtered through the cottonwoods. At times, they moved on hands and knees and paused frequently to strike matches, shielding the light carefully to look for indentations in the ground or freshly broken twigs that would indicate that Vince and Rankin had gone ahead. In the meantime, the attackers thought themselves quite safe in an arroyo.
You sure this is where the boss said he'd meet us?
He'll be here, Vince. Now, take it easy. What's worrying you, anyway?
Yeah, I'd feel a darn sight better if that masked hombre hadn't got away.
Maybe it's just as well he did. We don't have to worry about handling a prisoner.
If it hadn't been for that doggone horse...
Stop crying over spilled milk and help me bust up some twigs.
What are you doing that for? You ain't gonna build a fire, are you?
Yeah, a small one.
It's likely to be seen.
Not down here in the bottom of the royal. Anyhow, we won't have it going more than a couple of minutes.
What do you want with the fire?
I aim to know what we stole.
That envelope?
The same. Boss was downright anxious to get his hands on it. Maybe it's worth a lot more than he's paying us.
You plan to try and collect more from him?
Maybe. Information don't hurt a man. You, got a match, Vince?
Yeah.
We got enough twigs here. They'll last while I read the letter. And start them burning.
All right. I don't know as we're doing the right thing, Rankin. Me, I don't like to risk making the boss sore at us.
He didn't say anything about not reading the letter. He just said we was to get it and have it here by the time he showed up.
How'd he know that masked man had come for it?
I don't know.
Yeah, that fire's burning bright enough to read by. Go ahead and read the letter, and we can put her out.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure looks important. Look at all that sealing wax on the envelope. Come on, hurry up, Rankin, will you? That masked man is prowling on the look for us. He might see the fire.
We'd hear his horse if he was coming this way. And there's a lot of writing here.
Yeah. Yeah, so I see.
Now, just smooth it out.
There they are, Tonto.
Hey, what?
Take him, Tonto. Reading my mail, huh?
Let me go. Fix him, too. Vince, your gun. Get your gun. I can't. This is for you. You're asking for trouble.
This is for you.
That fix him.
Yes, they're both out.
Look, matter in fire.
Oh, get it. Just started to burn. Good thing you saw it when you did, Tonto. The only man who knows the contents of this letter is the man who wrote it.
Him secret worker?
Yes.
Me put fire out now?
Just a minute. Let me see how much of this letter's destroyed.
It burned the lower part.
Yes, the signature's gone.
Much more burned?
Doesn't seem to be much missing. I'm going to read this now before it's lost again. Then I'll burn the rest of it. In the meantime, Tonto, see if you can find some rope and tie those two before they regain consciousness.
There are horses over here. Maybe rope and saddle.
If you don't find rope, take your knife and cut up some of their clothes.
While Tonto tied Vince and Rankin, the Lone Ranger held the letter close to the small fire and read it carefully, memorizing the contents.
I will at all times be somewhere near the stagecoach that carries the ore. It will be better if
you and I work separately as much as possible. But before the journey is completed, you must make yourself known to me, so I can give you the name of the man in St. Louis to whom you will relinquish your responsibility for the shipment. You will be able to identify me,
as I will be wearing a silver bullet. You will be wearing a silver bullet.
And there the letter ended. There had been more, but the rest was gone.
Couldn't be much more. Wearing a silver bullet. It's a curious expression. Wonder what he means.
What you say?
Tonto, the man we're to identify is going to be wearing a silver bullet.
Oh. Maybe him mean in gun belt, huh?
Possibly. He could wear a bullet tied to his watch fob or even around his neck.
You tear up letter?
Yes. I was told to destroy it as soon as I'd read it. I'll burn these pieces.
These fellas tied plenty tight now.
All right, Tonto. You better stay here with them. I'll go back and get the horses, and I'll get someone to take charge of these two. They might be able to give us some information.
That's right.
It's possible that they could tell what happened to the previous shipments of ore. I'll go back and report to the general. He can send some of his staff.
That's good.
I'll be back as soon as possible.
After the Lone Ranger had left, Tonto kept the fire in the arroyo burning brightly to serve as a beacon for the masked man's return. He sat in the shadows watching the captured men regain consciousness and enjoyed their surprise at finding themselves prisoners. But Tonto's simple pleasure was short-lived. The tall, lean figure that approached in the darkness made no more noise than a shadow as he crept up behind the Indian. Vince saw him, but he gave no sign. Then Rankin's face underwent a slight change of expression that telegraphed a message to Tonto. He started to turn, but too late. The barrel of a heavy gun crashed against his head with stunning force. When the Lone Ranger and two men from the general's party reached the arroyo, they found the fire reduced to a bed of glowing embers.
Tonto said he'd keep the fire burning brightly. I wonder if anything has happened.
Over here, Kimasabi.
Tonto!
Oh, what's happened? Where are the prisoners?
Me
I
tired.
see you are. I'll cut those ropes right away.
You said there were prisoners.
There were. There. Tonto, what's happened? Are you hurt?
Me get hit on head. Me go unconscious.
How did it happen? Who did it?
Tonto, tell it.
Me said watch prisoners. Me see fella named Rankin all sudden look pleased. Me turned to look behind, but it too late.
You have quite a bump on your head, but I don't think it's anything serious.
Me get conscious. Me tied like this. Prisoners gone.
And there must have been at least 3 men in the party.
That's right.
Well, gentlemen, I'm sorry. You'll have to tell the general that the prisoners have escaped.
We'll have men start a search right away. If we find them, perhaps you can identify them.
If you find them, you'll have to hold them for identification, because Tonto and I will not be here. We're going west to meet a stagecoach. Do you think you can ride, Tonto?
You bring Scout?
He's right over there. Come on.
Not good. We ride.
How soon are you starting west?
We're going to camp right now to pick up our duffel, and then we're starting. The sooner we get there, the better. Easy, big fella.
Steady.
Come on, Tonto.
Be ready.
Come on, Silver.
Get him up, Scout.
Maybe that masked man doesn't realize it, but I'm afraid he's up against a lot more than 3 men.
Well, the Lone Ranger has embarked on a new trail that leads to his most thrilling and unusual adventure. Be sure to listen to the next broadcast and follow the masked man and Tonto as they meet the enemy on the eastbound stage. Fiery horse with the speed of light, a cloud of dust, and a hearty hi-yo, Silver, the Lone Ranger. With his faithful Indian companion Tonto, the daring and resourceful masked rider of the plains led the fight for law and order in the early western United States. Nowhere in the pages of history can one find a greater champion of justice. Return with us now to those thrilling days of yesteryear. From out of the past come the thundering hoofbeats of a great horse, Silver. The Lone Ranger rides again.
Come on, Silver. Let's go, big fellow. I'm Silver. Hi!
A group of scientists in Washington searching for a new chemical element found themselves in need of meteoric ore. A chest of pieces broken from a large meteor that had fallen in California was stolen on the way to St. Louis. When the same thing happened a second time, government authorities were certain that enemy agents were trying to prevent the research. The Lone Ranger and Tonto were asked to aid in protecting the third shipment of the limited supply of meteorite. The Lone Ranger and Tonto sat on a hillside overlooking a town near the border between California and Arizona. It was there that the heavy wooden chest containing chunks of meteorite was to be loaded on the Butterfield Stage that had just arrived.
The stage won't pause any longer than necessary, Tonto. We'd better be ready to ride.
Scout, Silver all saddled. Sugan's all tied in place.
That's good.
We ride alongside Stage?
No, Tonto. We'll keep out of sight as much as possible. We'll ride ahead, then wait for the stage to catch up.
A government man do same thing?
I don't know, Kemosabe. You may travel on a course parallel to the stage, or you may ride in the stage as a passenger. Between now and the end of the journey, I've got to locate him and identify myself. He's the one who will tell us what to do with the chest of ore when it reaches St. Louis.
In letter him say you know him by silver bullet.
Yes. He said he'd be wearing a silver bullet. I wonder what he meant by that.
Maybe him wear it in gun belt.
That might be what he meant. I wish the last part of that letter hadn't been burned.
Look, Kemosabe.
Huh?
Passengers get on Stage.
Yes, I see them.
Why Stage carry passengers on trip like this?
The government authorities thought a special stage might attract too much attention.
Oh.
That's why they're sending the chest on a regular run with Jim Clark as a driver.
You say chest hold part of Meteor?
Yes, Tonto.
What that like?
Well, it's like rock. Porous rock. It contains many minerals.
It worth more than gold ore?
No, Tonto. It's practically worthless from the standpoint of mineral ore. But it's valuable to the scientists. You see, scientists all over the world are trying to find a new element. They already know quite a bit about it. They think it may have unusual properties and will lead the way to many great discoveries.
Maybe it's a good idea we see who ride on Stage, huh?
I learned about the passengers when I was in town last night.
Oh.
There are only two passengers. A girl named Mary Deming and a man named Martin.
Me see tall man standing next to Stage.
That's Martin.
Plenty thin.
I think he's a professional gambler, but not much is known about him.
Him and girl both go to St. Louis?
Yes, Tonto.
Maybe Martin, federal man.
He might be.
We go close, see if him wears silver bullet?
No, not now, Tonto. Jim Clark, the driver, is going to try to find out for us. We'll talk to him at night when the coach makes a stopover. Tonto, there's the wooden chest.
And it's plenty heavy. 2 men carry it from station.
They're not putting it in a boot. They're putting it inside the stage. Tonto, that chest holds the element that our country's greatest scientists are waiting for.
Just stand back now. Give us room there. We got to get this chest aboard. All right, heave it up. All right, shove it away. You can get aboard now. We're all set to go. Here, let me give you a hand up, miss.
Stand aside. I'll help the lady.
It's Thank all you. Right with me, as long as you both get aboard without delay.
Yep, we're all ready. You may remove the step and tell the driver to get going.
All right, Slim.
And the name is Martin.
Yeah. All right, driver, take it away.
Get up there! Go on, you critter! Get up there!
With 2 passengers and the heavy chest, the Butterfield Stage clattered along the trail to Yuma, Arizona. And after a layover, Jim Clark guided the 6 in hand almost due east across the open stretches of the Arizona Territory into Tucson and on to El Paso.
Whoa! Hey, fish! Whoa! Steady down! Whoa! Here we are, folks. This is El Paso.
The passengers found rooms in the hotel. The horses were stabled. But Jim Clark and the guard, following specific instructions, prepared to spend the night inside the stagecoach where they could guard the heavy chest. The Lone Ranger and Tonto moved through the darkness toward the stage, then paused. The masked man sounded a signal.
You sure Jim know what that means?
Yes, Tonto. I'm sure he will.
Him answer.
Wait here, Tonto.
Ah.
Jim.
Well, it's good to see you. I caught a glimpse of you and Tonto a couple of times since we left the border, but you were a long ways off.
Hey, Jim, this critter's masked.
Oh, sure he's masked, Pete. He's the man I told you about.
I've heard about you, Pete. You and Jim have a pretty responsible job.
Pete's a shotgun guard.
Yes, I know.
We haven't seen any sign of trouble so far.
Jim, I've got to know if your passenger's wearing a silver bullet.
You mean Rodney Martin?
Yes.
Well, how do you mean wearing a silver bullet?
He don't wear a gun belt.
He might be wearing it as a watch fob or carrying it on his watch chain.
I never noticed.
Jim, I've got to find out whether he has a silver bullet.
We'll be on the lookout.
But don't let him know what you're looking for.
I savvy.
Do you plan to do any night driving?
Nope. We'll stop over to the station every night.
And one of you will stand guard?
Yep. We take turns at sleeping. We're taking no chances with this chest.
Tonto and I'll be nearby at every stop.
I understood there was to be a government man on guard. Have you seen anything of him?
No. Have you?
I got a suspicion I'm carrying him right in my stage.
Martin?
Yeah.
Jim, I'll check with you again before we reach St. Louis. If you haven't seen Martin wearing a silver bullet by that time, I'll try something different.
Day after day, the stage pushed on across the state of Texas, with the Lone Ranger and Tonto never far away. Then the trail bent toward the north to cross the border into Arkansas. Each night found Jim Clark and his shotgun guard stretched out in the coach, with their feet resting on the precious box, one sleeping while the other watched. Each night found the Lone Ranger and Tonto camped nearby. The trip across Arkansas was uneventful. Then the stagecoach crossed into Missouri on the last leg of the long journey, with no indication of the intrigue and death that lay ahead. In Missouri, 2 men rode slowly through the night. They were known as Vince and Rankin, the pair that had tried to interfere with the Lone Ranger at the very beginning of his adventure.
Where is this cave that's supposed to be full of evil spirits?
Dead ahead, Vince. You'll be there in a couple of minutes.
Uh-huh. How long do we have to wait there?
Till the boss comes, and that won't be long. He'll be there right after we meet the stage.
You've been to the cave, haven't you?
Yeah.
What sort of place is it?
Will you see it? I hope you're not superstitious, Vince.
Me? I'm not superstitious.
That's what the early settlers said when they heard the Indian stories about that haunted cave. Then when they investigated, they decided to give her a wide berth. No one goes there now.
That's why the boss picked it for a hideout.
Sure.
What's it like?
Well, in the first place, you hear all sorts of curious noises. If it's dark, you see things shining in the corners and the walls and the ceilings and... Well, Wait till you get there. You see for yourself.
According to the schedule, the stage is due to pass near here tomorrow.
That's right. It stopped in Gopher City tonight. It'll come by here about noon tomorrow. That's when we move.
It was in Gopher City that the Lone Ranger held his second meeting with Jim Clark and the guard while the stagecoach was drawn up near the stable for the night.
I've watched Mr. Martin like a hawk, but I'm hanged if I've seen any sign of a silver bullet on him.
Has he said anything to make either of you think he might be the federal man?
Not a word. There's your Pete.
Nope. He strikes me as a downright fine gentleman. He's polite as all get out, especially when he's talking to Miss Deming.
Have either of you seen anyone else along the trail?
Yeah. Me and Pete have seen one hombre 3 different times.
You have? What does he look like?
Well, I couldn't see much about him, because he never came close.
He rides a black horse, we know that much.
I've got a hunch that he's just waiting for a chance to make trouble.
All the more reason to find out about Martin. I must know if he carries a silver bullet.
Well, we might ask him point blank.
No, that won't do.
You got any ideas?
Yes, Jim, I have. Tonto and I'll meet you on the trail tomorrow. We'll make believe it's a holdup.
Well, what good will that do?
We'll search Martin.
Oh.
And we'll fire a couple of shots. Pete, you pretend you've been disarmed. And you, Jim, rein up the horses. We'll take care of things from there on.
At noon the following day, Vince and Rankin became alert as they heard the stagecoach approaching.
It's a Butterfield Stage, all right.
That's the one we want. Get ready, Vince. As soon as it comes close, we'll jump out of ambush and start shooting.
Great day, Rankin. Rankin, do you know who them 2 are?
They're stopping the stage. They shot away the guard's rifle.
Yeah, they're the 2 we met once before. The masked man and the Indian named Tonto.
Sure enough. Come on, Vince. This is our chance to square up with them 2 and get that chest at the same time.
How come they're sticking up the stage? I thought they would...
Never mind that. Come on, we're going to get them, and that's all that counts.
Yeah.
Get up there. Come on, get up.
The curtain falls on the first act of our Lone Ranger story. Before the next exciting scenes, please permit us to pause for just a few moments. Now to continue our story. Jim Clark had driven the Butterfield Stage all the way from California without learning whether or not Rodney Martin wore the silver bullet, which would identify him as a government agent. Near the journey's end, the Lone Ranger and Jim planned to a fake holdup as an excuse to search the passenger. The masked man and Tonto raced up to the stage, firing shots into the air.
Right up there! Up that stage! Whoa there! Whoa!
This way for flares, Pete. Make out like it's a real holdup. I savvy.
Whoa there! Whoa there, you! Don't make no resistance.
He smashed my gun. I can't defend us.
All those horses quiet.
We're not carrying anything of value.
I'll see for myself. Otto, hold the gun on that garden driver while I see about the passengers, steady, big fella.
You watch him.
Mr. Martin, look, he's mad.
So he is. Now, what serves the meaning of this?
Don't resist. Maybe it won't hurt you.
Sorry to bother you, but you'll have to step down, Martin. I'm going to search you.
You may stay where you are, Miss Deming.
He knows us.
Oh, if it's money you want,
Step down, Martin.
Very well.
Unknown to the Lone Ranger, Vince and Rankin had planned a real robbery to get the contents of the chest that had been brought from California. Seeing the stagecoach halted, they rode in hard. Because of the clatter of a stagecoach team, the Lone Ranger didn't hear the approaching horses. He couldn't see them until they came around the stage, shouting and firing as they reined up.
All right, get him up. Heist your hand. Heist him.
Look, Vince, Rankin. Oh, you hit.
You got him. You got the masked man.
A bullet brushed the Lone Ranger's hand. It wasn't a direct hit, but the shock made him drop the gun he held.
Leave that other gun in leather and get both hands high.
Do as they say, Tonto. Get your hands up.
You hurt?
Just scratched. I should never have dropped my gun.
Thank goodness you two came in time. That masked man and Indian were about to rob us.
Oh, they were, huh?
You disarmed the garden driver.
Just a minute, Martin. I know these two. They're named Vince and Rankin. They intend to loot the stage.
And what were your intentions?
Hey, you hear that, Pete?
I hear it.
Get him!
Right.
What's that guard? Why, that...
I'll show you.
Jim and the guard went for their guns. One shot struck Vince in the arm. Then Martin leaped forward.
Here, give me a gun. Let me fight. Stand aside, Martin. Get away.
You're in the way, Martin. Move aside.
I can help, I tell you.
The Lone Ranger quickly snatched a gun and fired at Rankin's pistol. Then Mary Deming, leaping from the stage, threw herself against the masked man.
I have him. Help. Help me hold this bandit.
Here, give me a gun, I tell you. Give
Martin's
me a gun.
eagerness to get a weapon from the guard or driver and Mary Deming's desperate grasp on the Lone Ranger's gun hand gave Vince and Rankin the opportunity to spur the horses and escape. It took but a moment for the Lone Ranger to step away from the panic-stricken girl and for Jim Clark to push Rodney Martin to the side. But by that time, Vince and Rankin had made good their escape.
Confound it, Martin. Where in tarnations you have to jump all over me and Pete?
I'm sorry. If you hadn't gotten our way, we'd have nailed those two that tried to rob the stage. I wanted a gun to help fight. And you, Miss Deming, that masked man might have got those crooks if you hadn't grabbed his gun arm.
Well, I thought those two were trying to help us. I thought this masked man was the robber. I was so frightened.
I didn't stop the stage to rob anyone. I stopped it to search this man.
Well, for what?
I'm looking for a man who wears a silver bullet. Stand still while I search you.
Me search him. You got wound.
That's a scratch, Tonto. Sorry about this, Martin.
I know nothing about a silver bullet.
I'll find out for myself. Well, I guess you've told the truth.
You're not an outlaw?
Jim, hold the stage right here until Tonto and I return. We'll try to overtake those crooks.
We ought to be getting on to St. Louis. The cargo counts a lot more than capturing them two.
Steady there, Silver. You'll not be gone long, Jim. Rankin was hit in the arm. I don't think he'll travel far without stopping to dress the wound. Are you ready, Tonto?
You ready?
Steady, big fella. Come on, Silver.
Get up, Scout.
Oh, Silver, hold on.
Fella.
Easy, steady now. Tracks go right into that cave, Tonto.
That's right. We take horses inside.
No, we leave them here.
Maybe cave headquarters.
Tonto, you hear that? Comes from the cave.
Me hear plenty Indian story about Spirit Cave somewhere near here. Maybe this cave.
I remember something about it.
Indians say bad spirit live in cave.
It'd be a smart move for men who wanted to hide to use a cave people were afraid of. Come on, we'll go inside. Keep your guns handy. Those two may be waiting. That is a weird sound, isn't it, Tonto?
It's scary Indian like voiceless spirit.
It's probably nothing but the wind blowing across a natural chimney.
Look there, Kemosabe. Purple lights in corner.
Something phosphorescent. It's foxfire.
It glow in dark.
Here it is.
big pile of decayed wood.
That helped make Indian think spirit live in cave.
Yes, Tonto.
Why wood glow in dark?
The glow comes from a fungus that grows on decayed wood.
Cave go deep into mountain.
Yes, I'd like to follow it. See if we can find Vincent Rankin. We can't take the time. Important to capture those crooks. It's more important to get that chest of ore to St. Louis.
That right?
There have been recent fires and cooking in this cave. I want to know more about the men who camped here.
We come back?
Yes, Kimasabi. We'll return to the stage and tell Jim to get on to St. Louis. And we'll come back and investigate that tunnel. We can overtake the stagecoach after our search.
The tunnel big enough for man on horseback.
Seems to be. Come on, Tonto. Steady, Silver. Easy, big fella.
Come on, boy. Get him up the scout.
The Lone Ranger and Tonto followed the hillside trail to the valley where they had left the stagecoach. The big Butterfield didn't come into view until the masked man rounded the bend. And then it was less than a quarter of a mile away. It was easy to see that something was wrong.
Come on, Silver! Scout!
Jim Clark, the driver, and Pete, the guard, lay on the ground. Not far away, the passenger, Rodney Martin, was sprawled motionless.
Hold on. Take a look at the guard while I see how badly Jim's been hurt.
It looked plenty bad.
Jim's been shot in the chest. We'll soon know if any... Jim. Dead. How about the guard, Tonto?
Pete, shot through heart.
One shot for each of them.
Help. Help me.
Girl inside stage.
See about the other passenger.
Maybe him dead, too.
Please cut these ropes. Oh, it's you again. The masked man.
Yes, Miss Deming. Thank goodness someone's alive to tell us what happened. Just a minute, and I'll cut you free.
Oh, it was terrible. It was frightful. I'll never forget it. The wanton, cold-blooded murder. I don't know how any of us survived.
There.
Thank you. There's also a rope about my ankle.
I'll get it. Rub your wrist to restore the circulation.
All right.
You know the man who did this?
I may be of some help to you.
Some more here. There you are.
2 of them were here before. Those 2 you chased.
Vincent Rankin?
Yes, they came back. And there was another man with them. This time they didn't stop to talk. They shot the guard and driver. Then they hit Mr. Martin with the barrel of a gun and tied me.
Then Martin wasn't shot?
No.
Here, I'll help you down. How's Martin, Tonto?
Him not hurt bad.
Oh, thank goodness for that.
I guess he'll be all right. Seems to be regaining consciousness.
That poor driver. And the guard.
Steady, Miss Deming.
What shall we do? What can we do?
We'll see that you get to St. Louis.
Martin not hurt bad. Him just hit in head.
I think I'll be myself in a few minutes. What about the others?
Jim and Pete are dead. We're going to get the men who shot them. Miss Deming said that 3 men came here.
Yes, that's right. 3 men. The 2 you saw.
Who was the 3rd?
He was a stocky man. I'd say about average weight.
Anyone you knew?
No, but we'd seen him several times since leaving California.
We saw his horse in the distance a number of times. A very black horse.
Yes, I believe Jim described the horse that way.
At least the chest is still here.
Oh.
What did they do after they tied you, Miss Deming?
The chest. They opened it.
They did?
They smashed the lock with bullets.
Let me see.
What matter, Kimasabi?
Empty.
It was full of rocky stuff. It looked like melted stone with a lot of holes in it. And there was quite a bit of rocky dust. They took out everything.
What did they do with it?
They loaded it into saddlebags.
I see.
What in the world was it? What was so valuable that men would commit murder to get it?
Just a mineral ore, Miss Deming. But it came to this Earth years ago from outer space.
Outer space?
It's believed that it came from the constellation Andromeda.
Andromeda?
What about those thieves? You're going after them again?
Martin, can you drive the stagecoach to St. Louis?
I'll be glad to try if it'll help.
It will mean that Tonto and I can get after the thieves.
Oh, then do so. Do so at once.
You'll have to take the dead guard and driver with you.
Of course.
We'll wrap them in blankets and put them in the stage. You can ride on the driver's seat with Martin.
Very well.
You know, in spite of that mask, you seem to be on the right side.
I think I am.
I hope you catch those murdering thieves.
Have you any idea where to look for them?
Yes.
You know where to find them?
I think we can go straight to their hideout.
The Lone Ranger and Tonto have a shocking surprise when they return to the cave where the wind makes eerie sounds and foxfire glows in dark corners. Be sure to tune in to the next episode in the adventure of the Meteor from outer space and see what happens with the arrival of the man who wears the silver bullet. Fiery horse with the speed of light, a cloud of dust, and a hearty hi-yo Silver, the Lone Ranger. With his faithful Indian companion Tonto, the daring and resourceful masked rider of the plains led the fight for law and order in the early western United States. Nowhere in the pages of history can one find a greater champion of justice. Return with us now to those thrilling days of yesteryear. From out of the past come the thundering hoof beats of the great horse Silver. The Lone Ranger rides again.
Come on, Silver. Let's go, big fellow. Hail, Silver! Away!
Early in the 18th century, a meteorite from Andromeda blazed through the skies and landed with earth-shaking force in California. For decades, it lay nearly buried in its own pit. Then scientists in Washington began an intensive search for a new, rare chemical element which it was believed would have properties of an almost fantastic nature. Unable to find that element on Earth, the chemists thought it might exist on other planets. They decided to experiment with chunks of the rock-like material broken from the meteorite. A jealous foreign country hoped to block American research. Agents intercepted 2 shipments of the meteoric rock. A third chest was filled with material from the depleted meteorite. It was taken aboard a Butterfield Stage in California. The Lone Ranger and Tonto were secretly appointed to guard the passage of the stagecoach to St. Louis. Despite their efforts, this third shipment was stolen by the foreign agents. The guard and driver of the stagecoach had been killed. Mary Deming was found tied hand and foot, and Martin, the other passenger, lay on the ground, apparently knocked out. Both Martin and the girl were willing and eager to cooperate with the Lone Ranger.
Martin, can you drive the stagecoach to St. Louis?
I'll be glad to try if it'll help.
It will mean that Tonto and I can get after the thieves.
Well, then do so. Do so at once.
You'll have to take the dead guard and driver with you.
Of course.
We'll wrap them in blankets and put them in the stage. You can ride on the driver's seat with Martin.
Very well.
You know, in spite of that mask, you seem to be on the right side.
I think I am.
I hope you catch those murdering thieves.
Have you any idea where to look for them?
Yes.
You know where to find them?
I think we can go straight to their hideout.
The Lone Ranger and Tonto placed the dead men in the stage, then mounted their horses while Martin climbed to the driver's seat and picked up the reins.
Now, don't worry about it. We'll reach St. Louis without difficulty.
I'm sure you will, Martin.
You get after those killers and see that they're brought to justice.
We'll do our best.
You've already seen 2 of them.
Yes.
The third is a short, heavy-set man with a black horse.
Thanks. Ready, Tonto?
You ready?
Good luck to you.
And you. Come on, Silver.
Get 'em up, Scout.
Now, Mary, we'll get started.
You're, to meet some of the men, aren't you?
Yes. Get up there. Come on.
Where?
The other side of that mountain. You certainly pulled the wool over that masked man's eyes.
I don't understand him.
Haven't you guessed his identity?
Why, no, have you?
Silver bullets in his gun belt, horse called Silver, Indian friend called Tonto.
Martin, who is he?
Haven't you heard of the Lone Ranger?
You mean to say that man is the Lone Ranger?
Yes. Get up. Come on.
Martin, I don't like it. I knew the government would have men watching the shipment of meteoric rock, but the Lone Ranger... Did you know he would be one of the guards?
Yes, I knew it weeks ago. Remember when Vince and Rankin were captured?
Yes.
It was the Lone Ranger who captured them. The Indian, Tonto, was the man I knocked out to release the boys.
Oh.
The Lone Ranger is supposed to meet a government agent. They were to work together.
How do you know?
Rankin had a brief glance at the letter.
Seen nothing of a government agent.
I'm quite sure I know who he is.
Who?
The short, stocky man on the black horse.
Oh.
We first saw him near the California border. He's appeared a number of times since.
That's right.
The Lone Ranger thought that he helped Vincent Rankin steal the ore.
Now, just a minute, Martin. Maybe the Lone Ranger is fooling you. Maybe he knows that the man on the black horse is a government agent.
No, Mary, he doesn't know it. I'm sure of that. Get up there.
How can you be so sure?
A secret agent is to wear a silver bullet as a mark of identification. If the Lone Ranger had found his man, he wouldn't have searched me for a silver bullet.
The Lone Ranger might get Vincent Rankin.
I doubt it.
But he said he could go directly to the hideout. Must have meant the cave. And that's where Rankin and Vince are going.
They'll stop in the cave only long enough to unload their saddlebags. Then they'll go through the tunnel the other side of the mountain.
Can't the masked man follow?
If he does, he'll run into trouble.
How?
The men we're to meet are waiting in the valley at the end of the tunnel. Get up! Come on!
The Lone Ranger and Tonto didn't suspect that the stagecoach passengers were in reality the enemy agents. They rode hard, but when they came to an arroyo near the cave, the masked man signaled a halt.
Hurry up, Tonto. Pull Silver forward.
why we stop here, Kemosabe.
Get that old hat and shirt from your saddlebag, Tonto. I have the stain for my face.
Why, you put on disguise?
Yes, I'll take off the mask and darken my face.
We lose plenty time.
We've already lost time. We had to help Martin get the dead men into the stage.
That's right.
Those 3 crooks who had time to hide the stolen ore. If that's the case, I'll have to locate it.
Maybe you get rough, make crooks talk.
Rough handling won't make those men talk. They'll never talk if they know who I am. But if they think I'm just another outlaw in hiding, they might take me into their confidence. At any rate, I'll have a better chance of finding the hiding place of the ore. There. My face stained evenly?
It all right.
Good. Now for the shirt.
There's just one trouble.
What's that, Tonto?
Disguise plenty good, but crooks no silver.
It's not far to the cave. I'll walk. You stay here with Scott and Silver.
You go alone?
Yes.
But they're 3 men. Vince and Rankin, plenty bad. Maybe fella with black horse, even worse.
I'll have to take the chance. They've got to recover the ore. That's even more important than the capture of the murderers.
You be plenty careful. You not like it when you go alone.
If there's any trouble, Tonto, you'll hear gunfire. In that case, come fast and bring the horses.
Where, government man?
I wish I knew. I was disappointed to learn that Rodney Martin wasn't wearing the silver bullet.
Jim Clark thought him government man.
Poor Jim.
Him speak a feller on black horse.
Yes, I remember. We suspected him of being an enemy. If we'd only done something about our suspicions, Jim Clark might not have been killed.
You sure him work with Vince and Rankin?
You heard what Martin told us.
The
other passenger, Mary Deming, confirmed what Martin said. There, I'm ready. I'll wait here until I return, Tonto, unless you hear shooting. In that case, come fast.
Get along here. Get up.
While the Lone Ranger approached the cave on foot, Rodney Martin guided the stagecoach through a valley on the other side of the mountain. Ahead, he saw 3 horses, and nearby stood 3 of the members of his organization.
There they are, Mary. You haven't met those men, have you?
No.
The biggest is called Reno. The one in the tan shirt is Trigger Collins. The one nearest the horses, Grizzly Smith.
That Trigger Collins has his gun ready. They look as if they're expecting trouble.
Now, they haven't recognized me yet.
Where are Vince and Rankin?
Probably on their way through the tunnel.
I don't see the tunnel. Where is it?
See those rocks, don't you?
Yes.
They conceal the entrance.
Does the tunnel go right through the mountain?
That's right. Cave's at the other end.
That's the cave the Indians consider haunted?
Yep. White men as well as Indians. Everyone keeps away from it. Hey, boys. Hello, boy. Whoa. 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 Whoa.
Hey, look. Boss has a girl with him.
We thought you'd never get here.
Hey, how come you're driving a stage? Let me give you a hand down, boss.
I can make it without help.
Hey, who's the girl?
Just a minute. Step down, Mary.
Thank you.
Boys, this is Mary Deming. She's done some very valuable work for us on the West Coast. Mary, this is Reno.
Howdy, ma'am.
Trigger Collins.
Glad to see you.
And Grizzly Smith.
Howdy. How long you been working for the outfit?
Quite a while. Much longer than you men.
Boss, how long have you been driving a stagecoach?
Regular driver's inside with a guard.
Inside?
Both of them are dead.
Had to get rough with them, huh?
Say, how about that stuff we're supposed to take charge of? Is that inside, too?
We've already secured possession of it. Vince and Rankin have it. They're going to leave it in the cave and then come through the tunnel to meet us here.
We heard that the Lone Ranger was to guard this stage. How about that?
Lone Ranger tried to guard it. He failed.
What?
Vince and Rankin lured him and his Indian companion away, went through the tunnel, and circled back to the stage. Before the masked man got back, we'd taken care of things.
What'd you do?
We shot the guard and driver and loaded the meteoric rock in saddlebags. Mary here was tied. I was tapped slightly on the head, just enough to raise a bump. By the time the masked man returned, Vince and Rankin had gone with the saddlebags.
Yeah, and it looked like you and the girl was victims of the stage drivers, huh?
That's right.
Then the Lone Ranger doesn't suspicion you at all?
Nah.
Say, that's downright slick.
Here come Vince and Rankin.
Hi,
Rankin. Steady, boy. Hey, Rankin. What's the matter with your arm?
I stopped one of the masked man's bullets, but it's just a scratch. He'll get worse when he stops one of mine.
Did you get the ore hidden?
Yeah, boss. And while we was in the cave, we had a visitor.
Lone Ranger went after you.
And we didn't see nothing to him. We seen someone else.
And they blame there took us by surprise.
Well, who? What happened?
Well, me and Vince emptied the saddlebags and hid the stuff in the usual place. We were just about to start through the tunnel when we heard a horse approaching.
From the tunnel?
Yeah. We ducked back fast and took our horses with us. We got to a dark corner and kept quiet.
Now, just a minute, Rankin. You mean to say that someone went to the cave from this valley?
That's what. He come into the cave and dismounted. He looked around for a minute.
He was set to shoot if he'd spotted us.
Yeah, but he didn't spot us. He went to the mouth of the cave and looked out. That gave us a chance to slip into the tunnel and come here.
We left him in the cave.
Who is the man?
Yeah, we never seen him before. He was a short, heavy-set gent. He rode a black horse.
A black horse? Are you sure of that?
Well, yeah, why?
You hear that, Mary?
The government agent.
What? You mean to say that hombre is a government man?
That's it exactly. I'm sure of it. And if he's still in the cave, the Lone Ranger will probably meet him there. And the Lone Ranger thinks he's one of the men who robbed the stage and killed the garden driver. Oh, I wonder what'll happen when those two meet.
The curtain falls on the first act of our Lone Ranger story. Before the next exciting scenes, please permit us to pause for just a few moments. Now to continue our story. The Lone Ranger thought that Rodney Martin and Mary Deming were commonplace passengers on the stagecoach to St. Louis. He didn't suspect that the two were members of the organization that was determined to intercept all shipments of meteoric rock from California to block scientific research. Martin knew that the Lone Ranger and Tonto were on their way to the cave in search of the stage robbers. He was delighted to learn that a man on a black horse, a federal agent, was already in the cave because he had described this man to the Lone Ranger as one of the outlaws.
I wondered where he was at the time of the holdup.
Then you knew about him.
He's been near the stagecoach from the time we left California.
He must have been investigating the tunnel. That's why he wasn't on hand during the holdup.
Well, he's due for a surprise, and so is the Lone Ranger.
You better not count on them shooting on sight. That government man might recognize the Lone Ranger.
I'm not counting on anything.
If they get together and search the cave, they'll find all that stuff we stole.
Precious little good it'll do them. Rankin, you and Vince go back through the tunnel.
Go back?
Yes. The rest of us will move around the mountain and approach the front entrance of the cave. The Lone Ranger and the federal man will be trapped.
Hey, that's slick.
Good scheming.
And if something happens to those two, it can be blamed on the spirits that are supposed to haunt that cave.
The cave had been well chosen as a headquarters. The walls and ceiling were rich in magnetic lodestone. Foxfire glowed with a spectral light in dark corners, and the wind made a weird sound as it brushed a natural chimney. Indians and superstitious white men thought the cave was haunted and shunned it accordingly. The mouth of the cave was large enough to admit a man on horseback, and an equally large opening at the rear of the high-ceilinged cavern opened into a tunnel that went through the mountain. A black horse stood at rest on one side of the large room. The owner was near the entrance, his gun in hand, as the disguised Lone Ranger entered.
That's far enough.
Oh, I didn't know someone was here.
Stand right where you are.
I thought everyone was afraid of this place. It's good to find someone who's got sense enough to recognize a good hideout.
It is, huh? Who are you?
A lot of people have asked that question. I've never answered it.
Is this your hideout?
You object to sharing it?
On the dodge, huh? Who's after you?
A lot of men would like to get me. Where are your pals?
My pals?
The two who helped stick up the stage.
What stage?
The eastbound Butterfield.
You mean to say it was held up?
You needn't act innocent for my benefit. Get the gun away and we'll get acquainted.
What do you know about a holdup?
Quite a bit.
When did it happen? Who did it?
I got there after it was over.
I want to know what happened. Talk.
No one has ever made me talk. Now, if you want to be sociable, put the gun away.
Well, all right, I'll holster the gun. Just remember this. I'll get it into action fast if you try anything.
Oh, how fast?
Why, you...
Steady.
That draw.
A little slow, aren't you?
I'm considered fast on the draw.
I want you to understand that I'm talking because I want to. Not because you're making me. Here, I'll put the gun away.
Who are you?
We might be able to do each other some good.
Have you been using this cave as a hideout?
I've been here long enough to understand the thing that frightens others away. For example, the wailing sound is nothing more than the wind blowing past a natural chimney. And that purple glow in the corner is merely decaying wood.
Foxfire.
Exactly.
What were you going to tell me about the holdup?
Well, a masked man and an Indian rode up to the stage. They found Martin unconscious and the girl passenger tied hand and foot. Then Martin agreed to drive the stage through to St. Louis with the bodies of the guard and driver.
You mean to say the guard and driver were killed?
Yes.
What did the masked man do?
He's looking for the murderers. Vince, Rankin, and you.
You know those two?
Vince and Rankin? I know of them. The masked man tangled with them once before.
You didn't see the actual holdup, did you?
How do you know what I saw?
If you had, you wouldn't include me with Vince and Rankin.
Why do you try to make me think you didn't have a part in the holdup? Surely you don't think I'm a lawman.
You could be.
Yes, but on the...
What's the matter?
Last time I was here, the foxfire in that corner was piled high. Now those rotting logs are spread out in the corner. I wonder...
What are you going to do?
Stay where you are. Going to see if the loot from the robbery was hidden beneath this wood.
What was stolen?
Here it is, I'm sure of it. Meteoric rock.
In that case...
No, you don't. Still a little slow on the draw, aren't you? Now we'll change the tune. Where are the others?
What others?
The men who helped you rob the stage. Vince and Rankin. Where are they?
I don't know.
Don't stall. Now that I've found the stolen material, I'm no longer inclined to be friendly.
You are a lawman.
I'm not restricted by the rules that govern regular lawmen. You'll talk
Wait,
to
I think I have you tagged. There's only one man could outdraw me, and you've done it twice. The speed of your draw identifies you. You spoke of a masked man.
I spoke of Vince and Rankin.
Listen to me. Did that masked man put on different clothes, remove his mask, use a disguise, and come here to find the stolen rock?
Why?
Did he decide to act the part of an outlaw, a man in hiding, until he found the stuff that meteors are made of?
Why do you say that?
Is he looking for a man who wears a silver bullet?
Yes.
If you're the Lone Ranger, you've found your man.
You?
My name is Black. My boss is Uncle Sam. I wrote a letter to the Lone Ranger.
I read that letter.
Remember the last line?
The letter said you'd be wearing a silver bullet. The last line of the letter was destroyed, so I couldn't read it.
The letter said I'll be wearing a silver bullet in miniature mounted on a ring. Look, here's the ring.
Good, good. Now, you were to give me the name of the man in St. Louis. The man who will take charge of the ore.
I have the name with me. What made you think I had a hand in the robbery and murder?
Because Martin described you.
Passenger?
Yes. He said you were there with Vince and Rankin.
He lied.
And the girl backed him up.
Until you told me, I didn't know the stage had been stopped.
Where were you half an hour ago?
Coming through that tunnel from the other side of the mountain. Oh. I'd heard that Vince and Rankin and the rest of their organization had a hideout somewhere around here. Did some scouting and found the tunnel entrance in a valley.
Martin must have known that you were the government agent. He wanted to make trouble for you. That's why he told me you were involved in the robbery.
And Martin must be one of the gang.
Also the girl, Mary Deming.
Are you sure that rock is the stuff from the stagecoach?
I think we've found the loot from all 3 robberies.
Then those 2, Vince and Rankin, must have been here. I wonder how I missed them.
There they are!
Look.
Come on, we'll get them.
The mouth of the cave. You got one of them.
This way. Get into the tunnel. Here, Black, stop here.
Keep close to the walls of the tunnel. We'll have some protection.
Those 3, who are they? You know them?
One's an outlaw known as Reno.
I'll get you. I can still handle it down. Good tramp. You may as well surrender.
Surrender! That's just the start. Come on in. If you want us, come and get us.
The gunfire should bring Tonto.
Those rocks at the entrance give them more protection than we have.
Keep them down. Shoot fast when they stick their heads out to aim.
We got you covered.
Behind us, that's Rankin.
He's in the tunnel.
Put down your guns or we'll drop you.
Down, Black. Flat on the floor.
Them shots are warnings. We got you from both sides.
He's right.
You give up?
Does that look like it?
Or this.
You asked for it. Here it is.
I can't see a thing in that tunnel. Gotta shoot blind.
We don't make much of a target ourselves. Keep as close to the ground as you can.
Come on, Rankin. Right out of that tunnel. We'll nail them when they show themselves.
You'll nail who?
That's Tonto.
Tonto had crawled close to the mouth of the cave. His war cry was followed by fast shots. The men on that side of the Lone Ranger and the Federal agent turned in surprise. One of them went down. The Lone Ranger seized the opportunity to attack. He and Black charged across the cave.
Here's one for Jim Clark.
No, wait.
Take it! Oh!
Hey, wait! Let them have it, Vince. The others are down. Shoot back.
There, Vince.
Oh,
Black.
they got me.
They'll pay for that.
I'll get one of them.
That got him.
Black hit plenty hard.
Not much we can do for him, Tonto.
No. But me put wet cloth in face. Maybe help him come to.
Black.
You.
We got them, Black. 2 are dead. 3 are captured.
What about Martin?
Martin set the trap for us, then stayed in the stagecoach to watch from a distance. He's gotten away.
The meteor rock. You have that?
We'll see that it gets to St. Louis.
Good.
Now listen to me, Black. You're to give me the name of the man in St. Louis.
Name?
The name. Tell me, I've got to know.
Ring. Take ring. Silver bullet.
Yes, but give me the name. The name, do you understand? One word. The man in St. Louis.
Name is...
Tonto.
Him gone.
Tonto, we'll lick that organization. It's the last thing we ever do.
Well, the Lone Ranger and Tonto have possession of the meteoric rock, but Rodney Martin and his girl accomplice have gotten away in the stagecoach. The Lone Ranger's greatest danger of all lies just ahead when the masked man tries to deliver the priceless rock from outer space in St. Louis. story you have just heard is a copyrighted feature of the Lone Ranger, Incorporated. A fiery horse with the speed of light, a cloud of dust, and a hearty hi-yo Silver, the Lone Ranger. With his faithful Indian companion Tonto, the daring and resourceful masked rider of the plains led the fight for law and order in the early western United States. Nowhere in the pages of history can one find a greater champion of justice. Return with us now to those thrilling days of yesteryear. From out of the past come the thundering hoofbeats of the great horse Silver. The Lone Ranger rides again.
Come on, Silver. Let's go, big fellow. I'll Silver. Hi!
Working for a jealous foreign country, Rodney Martin and Mary Deming hoped to block the research of American scientists in quest of a new chemical element by intercepting shipments of meteoric rock between California and St. Louis. Martin and the girl had boarded the Butterfield stagecoach in California as passengers. Gunmen appeared when the stage was near St. Louis. They killed the guard and driver and unloaded the shipment of rock, which they took to a nearby cave. The Lone Ranger had been especially appointed by the government to assist a federal agent in protecting the precious cargo. He found Inspector Black in the cave, where he uncovered the stolen goods. Martin's men appeared, and in the fight that followed, the gunmen were defeated. The Lone Ranger's victory, however, was far from complete. Rodney Martin and the girl escaped in the stagecoach, and Inspector Black was killed. The lodestone walls of the cave were scarred with bullets. The air reeked with the acrid smell of burned gunpowder, and the wind blowing past a natural chimney seemed more eerie than ever before. Death had struck 3 times. Grizzly Smith had been killed in a gunfight, and Black had shot the outlaw named Rankin with the last of his expiring strength. Tonto finished roping the 3 surviving gunmen, then joined the Lone Ranger at the side of the fallen federal man.
Tonto, I've learned a lot. All 3 shipments of stolen ore are in this cave.
Not plenty good.
Martin and the girl are enemy agents. This man was Inspector Black.
Him fella who wears silver bullet?
Yes, it's a miniature bullet mounted on a ring. This ring. He told me to take it. He asked me to get that ore to St. Louis. We'll pack it on the horses of those gunmen.
What we do with the prisoners?
We'll leave them here. The law can send a man from St. Louis to get them.
Black tell name a man in St. Louis?
No. He told me to take the ring, then died before he could say any more.
That bad.
Yes, it is. I'll keep this disguise on and go to St. Louis alone. I'll have to look around and find the man who's to take over the responsibility of the ore.
And what me do?
You follow with the horses as far as the Three Pines. You know where that is?
Me know. 3 Pines, where trail go close to canyon.
Yes. I'll wait there until I join you. With enemy agents around, we can't take any chances of delivering the ore to the wrong man. Now let's take care of Black and then load the horses.
The Lone Ranger buried the government agent near the entrance to the cave. Then the meteoric rock was packed on the gunman's horses. The Lone Ranger, wearing his disguise, set out for St. Louis at a fast gait, while Tonto followed more slowly. In the meantime, Rodney Martin drove the stagecoach team. The trail to St. Louis was broad and smooth. Mary Deming sat at Martin's side.
That Lone Ranger. Hadn't it been for him,
we were lucky to get away, Martin.
I know it.
If the Lone Ranger has captured any of those men alive, they may tell all they know about us.
I'll deal with them when the time comes. Other things are more important. We've got to see that the meteoric rock doesn't reach St. Louis.
All 3 of the shipments we intercepted are hidden in that cave. What if the Lone Ranger finds them?
I'm not underestimating that man. I expect he will find the rock. If he does, he'll try to carry out his mission by getting it to St. Louis. If he does that, he'll play right into my hands.
Yes? Well, you'll have your hands full.
He'll make it possible for me to kill him and do it with the full protection of the law.
Martin, don't get overconfident.
You'll see when we reach the stagecoach terminal and report the holdup and murders. Get up! Get up!
The sheriff's office was right next door to the terminal station of the Butterfield Stage. Deputy Specs Miller sat at the desk of the sheriff. He was reading a report which he held close to his watery eyes and read it through steel-rimmed spectacles. When the door opened, he removed the glasses and blinked at a well-dressed man of dignified bearing who had entered the room.
Howdy, stranger.
I'm looking for the sheriff.
Well, I'm the deputy sheriff. Miller's the name. Sheriff's next door at the Butterfield Stage office.
My name is Hamilton. J.C. Hamilton.
Yes, sirree. I'm glad to know you, Mr. Hamilton. Just call me Specs. That's what everyone calls me on account of these here eyeglasses. Now, what can I do for you?
I'm expecting some goods on the Butterfield Stage.
But this is the sheriff's office.
I know. It's the sheriff I want to see. I have a letter here.
Oh, letter, huh? That means I got to put my spectacles on again. Can't see close without 'em, and can't see far off with 'em.
Well, the stage is inside.
Oh, Sheriff, this here's Mr. J.C. Hamilton.
Well, howdy, Hamilton. My name's Grant.
Glad to know you, Sheriff Grant.
Sheriff, there's a letter here.
Yeah?
Mr. Hamilton is authorized by the government in Washington to take over a wooden chest that's coming on the stage.
What's in the chest?
I don't know.
Hey, fellas, here comes the stage. That ain't Jim Clark driving it.
Eh?
There's the stage. I'll see you later.
I'll go with you.
Hey, Sheriff, you better come out here. There's something wrong.
Just a minute. Wait till I find the case to my eyeglasses.
Well, hurry up, Specs. There seems to be something going on.
These two, both of them dead.
Now, hold on. Don't all of you try to talk at once. Quiet down.
I'll tell you what happened, Sheriff.
Yeah?
I was a passenger on the stage.
He was driving it when it come in.
My name is Rodney Martin. This young lady is Mary Deming.
You come all the way from California?
That's right.
Hey, Sheriff, the guard and driver are both inside. They're dead.
Dead?
The work of a masked man and an Indian. They also stole the gold ore.
Gold
There
ore?
was a chest full of it. Ore from the richest vein that's ever been found. Well, not only that, they tied up Miss Deming and knocked me out.
Where did it happen?
On the trail 2 hours west. And I demand that you send men out at once. I'll see that murderous pair brought to justice if it's the last thing I do.
We'll get after him as soon as I swear in a couple of special deputies.
I'll go with you. I can identify the killers.
And I. That oil was government property.
I'm going too. I can confirm Mr. Martin's identification.
Them clothes ain't fitting for riding.
I have riding clothes in my grip. I'll be ready by the time the sheriff has his men organized.
Mary Deming and 6 men rode west along the Butterfield Trail in search of the masked man and his Indian companion. Sheriff Grant, his deputy Specs Miller, and 2 newly enlisted lawmen were accompanied by J.C. Hamilton and Rodney Martin. Martin and the girl rode side by side and spoke in low voices.
Martin, you said you'd kill that Lone Ranger. How can you do it with lawmen on all sides?
We meet him, I'll put on an act. Make them think I've gone crazy mad. Then I'll pull a gun and fire.
Might be able to get away with it.
Law won't touch me for it.
You're counting on meeting that masked man.
Yeah? Look ahead.
A horseman.
Hey, Martin. Someone's coming this way. Rein up a minute, boys.
Is that the man?
He's wearing a black hat and he has no mask.
It could be disguised.
How about it, Martin?
Well, it looks like the same horse, and the man rides like the killer. But he seems to have changed his clothes and taken off the mask.
You think it's the same one?
I do.
We'll know for sure when we hear him speak.
He's coming in fast.
Rein up there. Rein up in the name of the law.
Oh, Silver, ho!
We want to talk to you, mister.
Sheriff, you're just the man I want to see.
That's him. That's the one. That's the killer. I'll show him.
Put down that gun.
Hey there.
Why, you... Give me that gun, Martin. Who told you to draw and fire?
He's a murderer, a killer. I saw him shoot that garden driver.
That's no call to shoot him on sight. I'm the law around here. I'll handle things.
Doggone, if I hadn't slapped your gun aside, you'd have killed him.
There's room for doubt about that.
You're covered, mister. The law wants you for murder and stage robbing. Now dismount.
Martin, you said the murderer was masked.
Wore a white hat and had a redskin with him.
The white hat's tied behind the saddle.
But the redskin...
He's probably gone into hiding with the loot.
Steady easy, Silver. Now, Martin did see me wearing a mask, Sheriff.
Eh?
But it was he and the girl who planned the robbery and murder.
That's not true.
Well, now...
Just a moment, Sheriff. Let me speak. A man known as the Lone Ranger was supposed to protect that stagecoach.
How do you know?
I was to meet him.
Mr. Hamilton's got a letter from Washington giving him all kinds of authority.
How are you to identify the Lone Ranger?
He's to identify himself to me by a code word.
A certain government agent was to give me your name and the code word.
You?
Yes. He was killed before he could speak.
Gosh, is this the Lone Ranger?
Perhaps a silver bullet will identify me.
Why, you lying killer. You probably met the Lone Ranger and stole his horse and gun belt.
Sheriff, take us all into town and let me communicate with Washington by telegraph.
We'll go there when you tell us where the loot is hidden.
I'll tell nothing until I've checked on Hamilton's identity.
You doubt me?
I made one mistake in trusting Rodney Martin and the girl.
He wants a stall for time to give his Indian pal a chance to make off with the gold.
Gold?
The contents of that chest.
So that's what you think was in the chest.
I told him what was in it.
Oh, I see. Sheriff, nothing can be lost by keeping Martin, Miss Deming, and me in custody.
I'll take you into custody right now, and we'll follow your back trail till we find that Indian with the stolen ore.
But Martin and the girl...
I need them to identify the Indian. Take him, boys.
I'll hold his arms.
Oh, you won't?
Grab him.
I'll fix him. Hit him again. Use that gun barrel again.
Hold it. That's enough. You've knocked him out. Give me a hand with him. Look him over to make sure he's not hurt serious.
How about you, Specs? Are you all right?
Yeah, I reckon so. I was sure spilled mighty hard.
Why, it's obvious what happened. This man met the Lone Ranger somewhere, stole his horse and equipment, and then robbed the stage and thought he could bluff his way out of it.
If he'd been the Lone Ranger, he'd have had a code word with which to identify himself.
Tie him up and leave him near that pile of rocks. We'll pick him up on the way back to town after we've found the Indian and the stolen ore.
What about the horse, Sheriff? Should we take it along with us?
Yeah, and the gun belt as well. Toss it over the pommel. We may find the Lone Ranger tied up somewhere on the back trail.
The curtain falls on the first act of our Lone Ranger story. Before the next exciting scenes, please permit us to pause for just a few moments. Now to continue our story. Sheriff Grant and J.C. Hamilton had no reason to doubt Rodney Martin's story that the man who called himself the Lone Ranger was an imposter, especially when he couldn't give Hamilton a secret code word. The Lone Ranger was knocked out and tied while the posse went on in search of Tonto. Silver fought to stay by his beloved master, but he was finally made to go with the sheriff's party.
Come on there. Come on, Dad. Rabbit.
What's the matter with that white horse, anyway?
He's just plain rambunctious, Sheriff. Looks like he's going to fight every inch of the way.
Well, do the best you can with him.
Looks like he's calming down now. Maybe he'll be all right when he sees we're determined to take him along with us.
Sheriff, I wonder if that man was telling the truth.
How do you mean, Hamilton?
If he'd stolen that white horse, as Martin said, seems to me the horse would be more willing to leave him.
Well, I don't know.
But he couldn't have been telling the truth. He couldn't identify himself.
Hey, Sheriff!
What's the matter, Specs?
I've lost my spectacles.
Did you have them with you when you started out?
Sure I did. I had them in the steel case. I always carry that case in my hip pocket, but it's gone.
Maybe they dropped out of your pocket when that man knocked you down, eh?
Doggone, I'll bet that's what happened.
Well, you can find them when you get back.
Well, I sure hope so. They're mighty strong specs.
Sheriff!
Martin seen something.
Sheriff, look over there. See those tall trees?
Yeah, sure I see him. What about him, Martin?
Take these binoculars and look beneath them.
What is it?
You'll see several horses there.
I can see the horses without binoculars.
There's an Indian with those horses.
An Indian, you say?
Yes, one who helped rob the stage and kill the guard and driver.
Come on, boys. There's the man we want.
Get up. Come on.
The Lone Ranger recovered consciousness with the sweltering sun beating down upon his face. He found himself as nearly helpless as a man could be. His ankles were securely lashed together, and his hands, crossing his chest, were tied at the wrists. His head ached frightfully, but this he ignored. He squirmed to a sitting position and looked about for Silver.
Where is he?
Silver! Silver, where are you?
His voice rang out across the plains, but there was no response. He wondered how long he had been unconscious, and then came the sickening realization that Tonto would certainly be found along the back trail. Tonto and the meteoric rock. And after that, Martin would find a way to lead the lawman to the cave, a way to release the captured members of his gang and massacre the sheriff, his deputies, and the man from Washington. Time became a factor.
Black had only lived a little longer. Long enough to pass the word that would identify Hamilton.
He strained against the ropes, but found the effort futile. And then a glint of something brilliant caught his eye. A few yards away, he saw a shiny metal case.
Spectacle case.
It was the one that had fallen from the pocket of the deputy during the brief struggle. It seemed unimportant. The Lone Ranger again tried his strength on the ropes about his wrists, then gave up this effort as hopeless. Again, the sun reflected from the gleaming spectacle case stabbed at his eyes, and with it came an idea. An idea that gave the bound man's spirits a lift.
I wonder. It's possible.
He inched his way along the ground, squirming and sliding inch by inch, foot by foot, toward the lawman's spectacles. In the meantime, Sheriff Grant and his party came to the edge of a ravine where Tonto and a number of horses were waiting next to 3 tall pines. Tonto, seeing Rodney Martin and the girl, went for his guns. But when he saw that others of the party wore the badges of lawmen, he relaxed.
Who there? Is this the Indian?
That's the man.
Get your hands up.
Put him up.
We get you covered. That horse, Silver.
You're doggone right, it's Silver.
Look out for that horse.
Hey, he's broken loose.
There he goes. He's getting away.
Look at him travel. He's running back.
Never mind that horse. Let him go. This Indian's the man we want. Stand where you are, Redskin. I want to take you in alive, but I won't hesitate to shoot.
In the past, the Lone Ranger had used a lens from binoculars as a burning glass to concentrate the sun's heat. Now he hoped to do the same with the deputy's eyeglasses. He moved his fingers, straining within the narrow restriction of the ropes to bring one lens into the right position.
Tight.
The shadow of the lens fell on the ropes.
Got to get it farther back.
He moved the lens a little farther, and the brilliant spot of light grew smaller.
Not far enough.
His efforts brought the miniature bullet on Inspector Black's ring against his chest. The pressure distorted the silver cylinder. One end moved. Was that bullet hollow? Was the loose end a cap that covered a secret hiding place?
Black said, "The ring. Take the ring."
The Federal man had used the last of his expiring strength to say those words. The Lone Ranger redoubled his efforts to bring the spectacle lens into the right position. He strained against the rope for each small fraction of an inch to reach the focal length of that lens. And then the sun became a tiny dot, a brilliant glare of light with all of the heat concentrated on one spot of the rope. Blue smoke curled up. The rope turned black beneath the dot. One strand burned through, and then another. The Lone Ranger trembled in every fiber of his being, but his hand held steady. Another strand burned. The muscles of his arm were corded by the strain. Perspiration beaded his forehead. And then the last strand of the heavy rope gave way. His hands were free.
Now?
The ring. He must first of all know the secret of the ring. He pulled off the cap, and in a hollow compartment found a slip of thin paper. It held the all-important information. As he tore the ropes from around his ankles, he heard a sound that drove the numbness from his fingers and the throbbing from his head. It was the familiar rhythm of silver-shod hoofbeats. He saw his gallant stallion Silver coming like the wind, great mane and tail waving like white banners.
Silver! Good boy. Good old fella. Good fella. What? My gun belt on the pommel.
The belt of silver bullets went around his waist. The heavy 6-gun slapped his thighs. He hit the saddle.
He's a big fella. One Silver!
As he rode, the Lone Ranger stripped off the old shirt, used it to wipe the stain and sweat from his face, and then discarded it. He drew his own shirt from the saddlebag and put it on while the cool wind fanned his face, unmasked and undisguised. A mask went into place across his eyes. Now he was the familiar figure, the masked rider known throughout the length and breadth of 7 states, the Lone Ranger.
I'll Silver!
At the edge of the ravine, the contents of the saddlebags had been dumped in a pile on the ground. J.C. Hamilton, as well as the lawman, took Martin's word that gold ore had been stolen from the stage.
And this is not gold ore.
You're doggone right it ain't. I know gold ore when I see it.
This is worthless rock.
Speak up, Indian. What did you do with the gold ore?
Me not talk.
We know what you did. You've hidden the ore and replaced it with this stuff.
Why did you hide it?
Me not talk.
Probably left it in a cave a few miles back.
All right. We'll go there and take the Indian with us.
Good work, Martin.
Well, Sheriff, we can't leave this pile of rock on the stage trail.
Yeah, that's right. The stage might run into it at night.
There's no use hauling it. Why don't we just push it over into the ravine?
That's a good idea, Martin. Come on, boys. Give me a hand. Shove this stuff into the river down below.
Right.
Hey, look, over there.
It's that white horse again.
The masked man's riding it.
One Silver!
That's the owner of that horse.
Look at him travel.
Martin.
That's the man who robbed the stage. That's the one I told you about.
One Silver, how about ho?
You're the one we want.
Big fella, stand back. Get away from that ore.
That's not gold ore.
Of course it's not gold ore. Far more important. Hamilton, I have the code word.
Give it to me. I'll identify myself with the reply.
The word is Andromeda.
And the reply is research.
That's it. You are the man.
Sheriff, this is the man.
Stay right
that-
where you are, Martin. Sheriff, put this man and the girl under arrest for highway robbery and murder. They're enemy agents.
Do as he says, Sheriff. Those orders come from Washington.
You'll never get me.
Tonto.
No, let me go.
Good work.
That got him.
As for you, Miss Deming,
Well, you win, Mr. Lone Ranger.
What is this ore that's so important?
that pile of stuff on the ground came from the constellation Andromeda. Scientists in Washington want that rock. You see that they get it.
Doggone. I never thought I'd live to see the day when I'd be close up to the Lone Ranger. You know, mister, there was another gent tried to claim he was you. We left him hog-tied.
Yes, I know, Specs. He got away.
Huh? You got away?
He wants to return your glasses. I brought them to you.
Sure enough, my spectacles. But tell me, how in tarnation did that critter get out of them ropes? I tied 'em myself.
He was helped by the power of the sun.
It was weeks before the Lone Ranger had official word that the meteoric rock had been received in Washington. He told Tonto about it as the two sat beneath the stars.
And the men in that cave told all they knew. Martin and all the others of his gang had been found guilty.
That's plenty good.
It's a strange thing, Tonto. Martin might have succeeded if a pinpoint of light from the sun hadn't been hot enough to burn those ropes, or if I hadn't accidentally knocked the cap off this ring.
That's right.
We don't realize what forces there are in nature. The energy in blasting powder is nothing compared to the force of lightning, or the waves pounding on a rocky beach, or the power of the sun itself. If man can ever harness those forces and make them work for him, there's no limit to what might be accomplished.
Plenty power in sun.
Yes. What is that power? What makes the sun so brilliant that it lights every one of the planets, the moon, the earth? What makes it so hot that it can sear the grass on Earth 100 million miles away? What power drives the Earth through space? What force sent that meteor to Earth?
Me wonder.
What will the future hold if mankind ever harnesses such powers as these?
Look, Kimasabi.
Yes?
Look up there. You see it? A streak in sky.
Yes. Another meteor blazing through our atmosphere. I wonder where that one is going to land.